From Stuck to Scaled, Growth Strategies for Small and Mid-Sized Businesses, your guide to navigating growth, transformation, and success in today's ever-changing business landscape. Each week, we'll dive into proven strategies, real-world case studies, and actionable insights designed to help small and mid-sized business owners scale smart, lead stronger, and grow faster. Let's get you unstuck and on the path to sustainable, scalable success. Now your host, Julio Gonzalez.
Welcome to another episode of the From Stuck to Scaled podcast. I'm your host, Julio Gonzalez, and today we're diving into the world of practical AI implementation. No hype, just straightforward strategies. If you're a small to mid-sized business owner feeling overwhelmed by the fast-paced developments in technology, this episode's for you. Our guest is Jenna Nelson, founder of HerAIgency, and she brings her extensive experience in human-centered AI strategies to the table. She'll share how business owners can use these innovative tools to lighten their mental load, streamline day-to-day operations, and preserve their brand's unique voice. With actionable insights and simple use cases, Jenna will help you see that AI isn't just for tech experts, it's an approachable ally on your journey to sustainable. And let's welcome Jenna to the show. Hey, Jenna, it's great to have you on From Stuck to Scaled.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and HerAIgency.
Yeah. So my name is Jenna, and I'm the founder of HerAIgency, and we focus on strategic implementation of AI. Specifically, primarily, my market is female founders, women-led businesses. It's not exclusionary in that way. I've just found that there's, a little bit of a gender gap in tech in general, but certainly in AI as well. And so I've just kind of raised my hand as somebody who's willing to kind of dig into it and understand it and help people kind of implement it and understand it in a way that feels a little less overwhelming and scary, because there is a lot going on in this space and it's changing so rapidly, daily, every hour, it feels like. And so I try to bridge that gap between fear and understanding, and help people implement it in ways that are going to help them not burn out and do more with less.
I am so glad you used the word overwhelming, because AI is on everybody's lips.
Sure.
I was at the Consumer Electronics Show last week, and every single booth had some sort of AI component.
Absolutely.
And people don't know what to do with it.
Right.
They know about using ChatGPT. They know they have to ask AI something, but people just don't even know how to prompt. Right. So, how are you helping these small business owners get past, all of that uncertainty and find a footing in how to properly use AI?
Yeah. So honestly, the approach is somewhat twofold, because on one hand, you have the actual implementation of it in your business, your workflows, your content marketing, maybe voice agents or conversation bots, lots of practical implementation ways in your business. So that's bucket one, and that's extremely important, and that's a big part of that, burnout and overcoming that.
Yeah.
The second bucket is that AI is changing the way digital visibility works. Search is incredibly different than it ever has been before. And if you're still doing SEO or website management the way you were 5 years ago, it's not you're not leveraging the new sort of reality of where we are right now. So what's interesting where we're at right now is that your website you want it to be usable by a human. You want humans to enjoy the design, the branding of it, the feel of it, but AI doesn't read your website in the same way that a human does. It needs to be machine readable. And because search is changing so much, because people aren't just going to Google and scrolling down 10 links anymore, it's not just about ranking first. It's about showing up in those answer snippets. It's about being quoted with a voice assistant. And to do those things, you have to have the right structure, to be visible to these AI tools. So we look at it in two different buckets, both the implementation into their business, and then also how do we take advantage of the way in which AI is changing, kind of the digital landscape out there. So it's there's two different ways to look at it. It is truly changing, everything that we do on a daily basis. And if anybody that's not kind of starting to adapt now, I'm, concerned that they're going to get, kind of eaten alive by their competitors, because it's just changing the game so fast. So that's a lot of what we do, is try to help people find, that comfortable entry point, and start taking advantage of those opportunities now before it's, too late. I say a lot, it may feel okay right now today to not have AI implemented in your business. It will not feel okay in 2 years. And exactly what you experienced at the Consumer Electronics Show, everybody is doing it. And I know there's a lot of fear. I know there's certainly the overwhelm, but we do kind of have to figure it out and start using it now.
So a lot of businesses kind of just avoid change, right? Because that's kind of what we're talking about. We're talking about
change management. Yep, absolutely.
So a lot of business owners avoid change. So, I mean, AI is not new at this point. We've had, some form of AI for at least, real AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've had it for at least 5-6 years
Yep.
now. And, you still have, I just found out, about Gemini and Grok and all these other things. And it's saying, okay, you're behind the curve already. Your employees are using it.
Yes. Yes.
And your competitors are ahead of you. So I'm very glad to see you out there, really, driving this home with business owners, especially women, because like you said, there is a gender gap. So I love that you're focusing, on helping women entrepreneurs. And at this point, business owners need to be beyond just using AI as a tool for marketing and emails. So what are some of those more in-depth items that you help founders with?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say one of the biggest things, and where I start a lot of people, is kind of upscaling their lead intake process. We're really past the point, but a lot of people were doing, static PDF downloads as lead magnets, or maybe there was, a course or something like that. We're evolving past that. And what's really cool to people and what people want in 2026 is a tool, something that helps them do something. So a lot of what I do is set up lead intake bots, essentially, that walk, it depends on the business, but maybe they walk a potential client through a consultative process to learn more about what their needs are and kind of guide them to the right, direction, or maybe disqualify them if they're not the right type of client. For me personally, we do a lot of paid ads in my agency, and not everyone is a candidate for paid ads at the point that they come to me. And instead of, me spending a half hour with them telling them that, we can get to that answer in 5 minutes with, a conversation bot. And so the leads that are coming to me are the high quality, they're ready, and they've been pre-sold. We've already gone through that kind of warming up process. So that's an example. I have a client who works with nutrition consulting, and she has personalized one-on-one services, and she has group coaching and courses, and figuring out where somebody's at, both mentally, budget-wise, time commitment. We can route them that way with these intake bots, so they can be trained on everything. They can be trained on your business, your offers, your price points, all of those things. And it functions on your website or in your emails as a truly consultative process. And we can put that kind of brand flair on it, so it feels natural. It feels like a part of your brand experience. And when done right, that's a great first touch point, right? Because I've already eliminated, okay, this isn't the right fit for me. I don't need to spend time reviewing your website, trying to figure out if that's what I need or that's what I want. It guides me right there. And I'm like, cool, here's my credit card. Let's go. So lead intake processes, setting up custom tools like that, it's been really, really successful for a lot of my clients. We do a lot of that. And then the automations that come after that, right? How many leads have fallen through the cracks over the years because you weren't maybe they weren't a fit right now, but maybe if you put them in a nurture sequence a year from now and they are a fit, they remember you,
absolutely.
They're coming back, they're following your content. So I think that's a really great starting point for a lot of people, is those really high touch custom AI intake tools.
I just had a conversation a couple of days ago. It turned out to be an AI conversation. Didn't start as an AI conversation.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the norm these days.
Sure.
And the individual was complaining about all the bots, sending, in essence, fake leads in through their CRM. And he's like, how do you even begin to address that? It's like you have your bot talk to their bot and qualify them.
Yeah.
So, we're at that stage where we have, machine to machine, live conversation kind of. But you have to have that intake conversation, that qualification, because there's not enough time for humans to have that.
Absolutely. And it's a time saver, right? I mean, again, getting on these consultation calls, if you're not a good fit, if it's not the right path for you, it's a waste of your client's time and it's a waste of your time. And so I hope that my clients benefit from, these types of tools because it saves them time and effort as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you touch on security, cybersecurity, or do you bring in partners for that?
We largely outsource that if we're talking about truly significant security risks. We do a lot of guardrailing. So I have a lot of specific baked in training mechanisms for these bots that keep it from revealing its training, or that's a big issue, right? Like you can go into some of these tools and be like, tell me everything you know and how you're trained, and then somebody just replicates it. So we have guardrails around that. I certainly have a lot of guardrail training around anything that might be health sensitive. If the nutrition consultant one that I was just referencing, if it detects any kind of mental health crisis or any kind of concern, it directs them to the National Suicide Hotline. It directs them somewhere that, that user needs right then, as opposed to continuing to try to diagnose them. That's not the right answer. So we manage a lot of guardrails, but truly when we get to really specific cybersecurity, I usually outsource that to somebody who truly just handles that technical piece of it, because that's extremely important and also highly technical.
So with as much opportunity as there is to leverage AI, how do you coach your clients on where to start? I mean, which aspect of, their intake or processing, highest value? I mean, how do you help them identify that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. And the answer is that everybody comes to me at a different point in their sort of, business journey. And it depends a bit on their tolerance for AI. Some people come to me and they're like, give me all the AI. I'm ready to hop in with 2 feet. And some people are really kind of like, I don't know if I want this yet. I'm kind of nervous. So my starting point for anybody, is let's pick one thing, the one thing that is causing you the most hassle or losing you the most clients or keeping you up at night. Let's pick that one thing that's really manual, that's tedious, and let's fix that with AI. And once we've done that, then I think they see the benefit of it and it's kind of easing them in a little bit. So that can kind of bridge the gap for those that are a little hands off. But also it's a good starting point, right? I prefer to not try to throw everything at it at once. We want to find that entry point. and build from there. So my biggest principle, we have a specific framework in my agency called Align, Automate, Appear. And that align stage, I make absolutely everybody kind of go through. And that is brand strategy. That's making sure that all of those gaps that an AI tool is going to identify really fast and is going to fail at because it doesn't have that information. Right. We need to handle that first. And, my background's in brand strategy. So I find a lot of times when I'm going to train an AI tool and I'm asking founders questions about what are your customers' primary pain points? What are describe your ideal customer to me. They can't do it. They've never sat and thought about that. And so it's an interesting workshop that I do with them. I take them through like a 60 to 90 minute, really deep dive into all of those brand strategy questions. A, because I need it to train the AI tools, but B, we find a lot of holes that they haven't considered yet. So it's a really valuable exercise for them all around. So that align phase is really important. Trained AI beats general AI 1,000 times out of 1,000 times. And so, if you're just trying to go to ChatGPT, the free version, and get great content out of it, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get it. It has to be trained. It needs to be treated. I tell people all the time, treat this like your next hire. This is like hiring a human. We're going to train it the same way. We're going to coach it the same way. We're going to give it feedback back and forth, reinforcement learning, same way. And once we've aligned that tool with their brand and their business, it makes the automation and appearing stages a lot more seamless, and it's very mission critical. So that's kind of where I start everybody. And then again, that one workflow, that one thing that's just not going well, let's fix that first.
Cool. And what do you see as some of the biggest misconceptions around AI? Because AI has become everything to everyone.
Absolutely.
Right? So how are you addressing that with your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of fear out there, right? Like the biggest one I hear all of the time is like, the robots are coming to take over, right? Like they're going to ruin my business. My audience isn't going to trust me anymore because they're going to know I'm using AI. And, there's a ton of different arguments to that. But, the big paralysis fear of the robots taking over is a bit inflated. Yes, we do need those guardrails. Yes, there are some scary things out there. There are ways that AI can be used in scary ways. But that's no different than the way the internet is or was when it first rolled out, or computers, right? The internet can be great. It can also have some scary things behind it. AI is no different. So I try to alleviate that fear first, that like, once you train an AI tool, it's not going to come in and like take over your whole business. That's not realistic. That's not going to happen. The second, I think, big fear is, well, my audience is going to know I'm using AI and then they won't like it. They won't trust me anymore. And I think as we're getting much more, it's becoming more popular, more mainstream, I think a lot of those fears are going away. But the bigger thing is, there's a way to implement AI in the right way for your business. And there's also a wrong way. And that's really what I'm here for, is let's find the right way. If you are a chiropractor, for instance, and you are using AI to send out automatic, reminder texts, emails, things like that, I don't think that your patients care that you've used AI to send out automated text reminders. If they're coming into your office and you're spending one-on-one time with them, they're getting the care they need. That's all I care about as a patient. I don't care that the doctor used AI to send me an automated reminder. That's not a problem for me. So finding those ways to implement it that make sense. Now, if I show up to a chiropractor and it's a robot chiropractor, and maybe we get there one day. Right now, we're not there. That's a different story, right? So finding your entry point based on your business, and it's different for every business. They're really high touch, sensitive, obviously medical, legal, that, maybe aren't the right fit for AI. And then there's things like scheduling a plumbing appointment where
Sure.
I don't really need to talk to a human to do that. I need a human to come to my house, but I don't need to talk to a human to schedule it. So that I do a lot of coaching around, let's talk about what's really important to your clients, to your audience, and let's not AIify that. Let's AIify the things that aren't so important.
So you're listening to the From Stuck to Scaled podcast, and our guest is Jenna Nelson with HerAIgency, and we're talking about how robots are not taking over the world.
They truly are not.
And Jenna, talk about AI for solopreneurs and how they can really benefit from having the help from an AI.
Absolutely. There's a ton of ways that it's extremely valuable. The first is obviously, help without inflating your payroll, right? If you're a solopreneur, if you're a very small business, adding to your payroll is a big step, and we can reduce a lot of that need with AI. Now, maybe one day down the road, it is right to replace with a human, but right now in this stage of business that you're at, if we can get AI to do it for you at a significantly better cost than hiring a human, let's do that. I also think decision fatigue. AI is a great brainstorming tool. It can help you kind of consider angles you've never considered before. I know somebody who trains a chat GPT to essentially be the voice of a client for businesses. And so they bounce everything back and forth between that GPT to see what kind of objections they might get. That's a great use.
That is an outstanding use.
It's an outstanding use. And I bake a lot of that into our brand managers. But the kind of independent reviewer GPT is a brilliant idea. And I love that. And so, I think solopreneurs in particular have maybe the most to gain in this environment, and, small businesses as well. What used to take a marketing team of 10, maybe like you needed a social media specialist, you needed a paid ad specialist, you needed a copywriter. Well, now maybe with AI, you can have one person that does all that. And so there's a lot of opportunity, even in enterprise level businesses. I really liked, I believe it was Spotify's CEO that was like, prove to me that AI can't do it before we hire for it. And I like that approach. It's like, let's start there. And then absolutely, there are things that need a human touch. Every AI needs a human in the loop, even if you're, letting it kind of run on its own through a workflow. Somebody needs to be reviewing it, checking it, auditing it. So we're not trying to replace humans. We're just trying to allow humans to do more human things and take some of the tedious manual work off their plates.
I'm glad you went there, because I was about to ask you about the human side, right? So, we've been through the automation round and outsourcing for larger companies and all that kind of fun stuff, but now we're finding efficiency through AI. So one of the things I've started coaching my customers on is, yes, you may be avoiding some hires, and in some cases, eliminating a role here or there. But before you go too crazy, save those bodies to do the things that a human needs to do. Because now that connection with your customer is that much more important. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. And I think what's really important is that these tools are giving you a chance to let your humans elevate their work and find more meaningful tasks for them, as opposed to maybe the automated repetitive stuff, right? Like, for instance, if you are a receptionist at a chiropractic clinic and you're no longer having to make outbound phone calls to remind about appointments and things like that, well, what can we have them do? Can we have them, producing blog posts that are helpful for their audience? What can they do instead? It's not about removing the human altogether. It's what can we elevate them two. I thought Sam Altman said it the best in the ChatGPT 5 release last year, which was, this is going to enable humans to do more than we've ever been able to do before. And I hold on to that and I repeat it all the time, because it's not about, all right, cool, humans don't need to do anything anymore, we're going to let AI do it all. It's like, you're looking at it wrong. What more can I do now? How much smarter can I be? How much more efficient can I be? How many more customers can I help because of AI? And that, I think, is the real brain shift I'm hoping happens for more people this year.
It's funny because with all the technology, we're seeing a shift back into the analog world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing people, move away from smartphones and move back to flip phones because they don't want the distraction.
Too much.
So, and obviously it varies based on the organization and roles and so forth.
Yep.
But think about it. Now you have the opportunity to do a follow-up call with a human to a customer and say, hey, Jenna, how was your appointment? And not just one of these survey emails.
Absolutely.
Right? How much further is that going to go? Because now, you actually consider, wow, they really do care about me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it allows for more human connection when used right. It allows me to spend more time one-on-one talking to my clients, to have time to go meet them for coffee, to go to networking events, versus, being home writing content, or, automated follow-ups are taking the place of my manual follow-up process. I think that's all really huge. And I think too, what's interesting is we as a society got very used to multitasking. Everything was, how many things can you do at once? How many tabs can you have open? How many projects are we working on at one time? Well, let's let AI do that multitasking, because it doesn't get tired. It doesn't need PTO. It doesn't need health insurance. Let's let it do that multitasking so that we as founders or employees, whatever, can sit and do one thing and do it well. We're not trying to just get stuff off our plate anymore. It's like, I think it's going to enhance creativity. I think it's going to enhance the products and services we're putting out there, because we're freeing up our brain from all the stuff that was just kind of noise, and I think that monotasking ability. Yeah, absolutely.
So Jenna, you work with, I'll say primarily, but you're focused on female founders.
Yes.
How are you seeing AI specifically benefit those female founders?
Yeah. So I think, in addition to the solopreneurs, I think that female founders have kind of the most to benefit from here as well. Our demands as women are often more. There's this statistic that, women on average work about 4 hours less per week, just because we have 4 hours less between family obligations and, children and things like that. So I think, more so than maybe our male counterparts, we have more to benefit from this kind of stuff. We're also more likely to try to multitask, to try to do too many things at once. So this is a great opportunity to be like, nope, we're going to let the technology do that. You're going to do just this. And when you're done for the day, you're going to sit on the floor and be able to play with your kids for a while and let your brain rest. So I feel like there's more of a benefit potentially for this audience, just because for decades now, we've been, as women, saying, how are we supposed to do it all? How are we supposed to raise kids and work and run a business and take care of ourselves? And the answer was always like, you can't do it all. It's usually at the expense of one of the other. Or you're going to burn out and, go crazy trying to do it all. And now I'm like, maybe we can do it all, but with a little help from AI, maybe this is finally where the scales level out for us a little bit, in that, we can let AI take some of the workload off and focus on those things that are maybe more important at home or in our business.
Putting the privacy side, I guess, on this, do you have any, great examples, great successes that you can share with us without sharing any names, keeping the innocent anonymous, I guess?
Yeah. No, there's tons. I would say one of the most successful pieces for me is that I've got a lot of clients who didn't have any kind of content cycle, they were lucky if they were getting an occasional social post up. Maybe they were writing a blog every once in a while, but that kind of content needs to compound on each other. And
Yeah.
what the search engines, what LLMs favor are freshness signals. They want to see that stuff being constant, not sporadic. And so I've been able to put a lot of these women into kind of, repurposing cycles. We start with one piece of content a week, whether they're filming a webinar, whether they're writing a blog. We start with one human-led piece of content. And then from there, I let AI, help break it down into shorts, into reels, into micro, social posts, things like that, email sequences. So they're still doing the hard part, the part of putting their knowledge out there to their audience, but they're only having to do it like an hour a week. And from there, I'm getting 10 hours worth of content into their kind of content planning cycle there. So that has been hugely beneficial for a lot of small female-led businesses. Maybe they're one person, maybe they've got a VA. It also makes it really easy now, once we train an AI tool to understand your brand, your tone, your offers. It's so much easier to hand it off to a VA or an assistant within your business. Whereas before you had to train them a lot, and God forbid you spend all this time training an employee and then they leave and now you've got to do it again. Your AI tool is not leaving. Now we need to maintain it. We need to upgrade it as the models change. There's still some work to be done there, but you're not losing it all. There's no risk of it walking out the door because it's moving to Florida. So I think that there's a lot of benefit in, once an AI tool is trained, it becomes your central source of truth for your business. And now it's easier to delegate. And that has been really powerful and beneficial, I think, for a lot of female founders as well.
Jenna, going back to social media and general digital visibility, how is AI, helping your customers, and what do you do to improve that?
Yeah. So, the main thing is search is no longer keyword based the way it used to be. What we're kind of evolving as a human species now is to more query based question and answer style. So what we're doing now is we're asking questions, and that comes from asking Siri, asking Alexa, using ChatGPT and asking it as a question. We're just naturally evolving that way. So now we're asking questions and we're expecting an answer, and then we're expecting to ask follow-up questions. Whereas before, what you were doing is you were going to Google and typing in plumber near me. Now you might be, going in to ChatGPT and saying, this is happening. Do I need a plumber? Can I fix this on my own? That kind of thing. So one, big tip I have for, anybody listening is start structuring your content more in that question answer style format. That's what the LLMs are picking up on. That's how you're getting in those answer snippets. It's no longer about, I think for a long time, we were really focused on like blog posts being 2,000 words or more. That's kind of out. There's a time and a place for long form content. Don't get me wrong. But those short, concise, succinct answers that are easy for AI to interpret and summarize, that's what's getting you found right now. Almost all of the clicks right now are zero click. People are just getting those snippets and they're not necessarily going through links anymore. So if you're seeing your website traffic drop, don't panic. If you're seeing your click-through rates drop, don't panic. That's happening to everyone right now. And it's just the way that it's evolving. So there's ways to take advantage of that. There's ways to, incorporate, those strategies into your marketing now so that you're as visible as you always have been. Just know that you're not doing anything wrong if you're seeing website traffic decrease. And it's just, start structuring things, more FAQs, more question and answer style formats, get to the point quickly. is really important. And that's how you're getting cited in voice assistants, in ChatGPT, things like that. So that's the big shift that's happening right now.
Lots of transformation and evolution.
Yes, tons.
So Jenna, as you know, no one leaves the podcast without providing some actionable tips that our listeners can implement today to improve their business. So what hot topics do you have, or what hot tips do you have for our listeners?
Yeah, so we just talked about the question and answer format. If there's anything I want to reiterate, it's that that is so important right now. The second is ensuring that your website content is machine readable. That starts with how your website is structured. That starts with implementing schema. If you don't know how to do those things and you don't want to learn, which may not be worth your time, have somebody do that for you, because that's really important right now. Your website needs to be human useful and machine readable, both at the same time. That's really, really important now. And the third is train those AI tools and don't stop training them. If you ask it something and it spits it out, and then you take it out and you change some things in your document, or you change some things in your email, put that sucker back into your LLM and say, this is what I changed and this is why, because that helps it learn. We call it reinforcement learning, and it trains it over time to understand you better. So don't just take it and be like, I didn't like that, I changed it. Make sure it knows you changed it. So keep training it, not just, this isn't a set it and forget it. I like to audit my tools at least monthly, if not quarterly, if you can't do monthly, to make sure that everything's up to date and that it's getting, that kind of reinforcement of your methodologies. That's really important as well.
Cool. I will have your contact information in the show notes, but tell our listeners where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website, HerAIgency, has kind of a link to everything you might need or want. I'm on YouTube a lot doing really short trainings. These aren't like hour-long deep dives. These are like 10-minute, something you can implement today. So I'd encourage them to check out the YouTube channel if they're kind of just getting their feet wet. And then, I'm on all the social platforms. I hang out on Facebook the most, but you can find me on LinkedIn as well. And I'm pretty easy to find, and I'm always happy to kind of chat and see where you're at and what might look like the next step, particularly if you're a little scared right now. I love to kind of help get you over that hump. So I'm always happy to talk to people about that.
That is awesome to hear. Thanks to Jenna Nelson of HerAIgency and for joining us today on From Stuck to Scaled. Jenna shared invaluable insights on how business owners can streamline their operations, reduce mental load, and embrace technology without the overwhelm. Remember, start small, automate just one repetitive task this week, and create a brand voice guide, or set up a simple CRM workflow. Each of these steps can significantly ease your daily operations and keep your unique voice on the forefront. If you found today's episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And as always, keep pushing forward. You have the tools to transform your business from stuck to scaled. Until next time, thank you, Jenna.
Thank you.
You've been listening to From Stuck to Scaled, growth strategies for small and mid-sized businesses, produced by Optocution LLC. For more information, tools, and resources, check out our website www.redefinepossible.co/podcast.